Hey guys, it's Lane with Tim's Nation. I'm here today to talk to you about the DeathWatch army I'm bringing. If you watched last week, it's definitely going to be similar. I'm going for the same idea here. In last week's game, spoiler alert for last week's game, I didn't quite get to pop off the full shebang, the whole deal of doing a whole bunch of dev wounds in one single glorious turn. The army did just fine. It was a good game, played pretty well, scored 100, scored over 100, 112. But and so I decided to try some things a little bit different here. So we're still going with the dev wound theme, and this actually doesn't have as many dev wound shots as last week's army. This one has 95 or 96 dev wound shots, but I'm using Terminators because DeathWatch Terminators can take 3 heavy weapons in a 5-man squad. So a 5-man DeathWatch Terminator squad can have 3 assault cannons. So I'm doing 3 Terminator squads with assault cannons and no Redemptor dreadnoughts. The idea is it's a similar number of dev wound shots. The Redemptor dreads have 20 Gatling cannon shots. The Terminators have 18 assault cannon shots, but the Terminators can deep strike, which is what I want to use to make sure I get eyes on the right targets. The Hypercrypt Legion bounces around. It's an uppy downy army. It's hard to get eyes on targets sometimes, and I wanted to make sure I could do that to really pop off the dev wounds for a turn. So we're going to go through the list here today. I'm going to list off everything and then kind of talk about the synergies that are going to be in the list and how I want it to work together. All right, it is a DeathWatch Black Spear Strike Force detachment. A little surprise here at the end of the detachment. So the old timers might enjoy what we got in the list today. But to start off, we have 3 characters. We have a captain with the Tome of Ectoclades. So this entire army, this entire build relies on the Tome of Ectoclades because once per game in my command phase, I can pick 2 Oath of Moment targets, and my entire army will reroll all hits and all wounds into both of those targets per the wording of Tome of Ectoclades. They haven't nerfed it yet. Hopefully they don't in the balance data slate that's coming up here soon, but hopefully we will get to keep this the 2 Oath of Moment targets, rerolling all wounds into both for 1 glorious turn. But that's it for the captain. Then we've got the Apothecary Biologist. He has the DeathWatch enhancement Beacon and Jealous. Just means that he gives his unit Deep Strike, and they can Rapid Ingress for free. I need to make sure I remember to use Rapid Ingress more often with these guys. If I go first, it doesn't really apply as much. But if I go second, I want to make sure I Rapid Ingress. And he'll be joining a 6-man brick of Eradicators. We'll get to in a minute. And then third, we have the Lieutenant with a combi weapon. This is the Lieutenant with all the rules. He has Lone Operative, which is rare for Space Marine characters. And he has the ability to move once after my opponent has moved within 9 inches of him. So it just keeps him around for a while, keeps him on the table. He's 70 points. For 70 points, I could have taken another ATV with a Gatling cannon, but DJ advised me that I should take him because he's got great game, secondary mission play, which he does. He has the ability to scooch around, stay alive with Lone Operative, and the ability to move away. And he also lets me reroll some extra wounds too, which might be relevant because he picks 1 target at the beginning of the game, and as long as he's alive, my whole army rerolls 1s to wound to enemy units that are within range of that objective. I pick 1 objective. So we'll see if he gets his value today. He does actually have a gun, a combi weapon, that's rapid fire. It's 1 shot, but rapid fire 1, and it does have dev wounds on it. So he contributes. So when I say this army has 95 or 96 dev wound shots in it, that's because it depends on whether he's in rapid fire range or not. Ideally, he won't be because I want him to stay just outside that 12 inches for Lone Op. So hopefully he doesn't get too close to the opponents. But it is there, so we have that to use. Now, we have a Company Heroes squad. Company Heroes is new for this edition, and it's just a squad. I used them in the battle report last week, and I think they're absolutely necessary for this build because I absolutely am relying on having Tome of Ectoclades. My captain who has Tome of Ectoclades must be on the table in the command phase to use this. So he can't be attached to a unit that's in a deep strike or it's in a transport. He has to be on the table per the wording of the Tome of Ectoclades enhancement. So I toyed with the idea of taking a Phobos captain and a 3-man Eliminator squad because that would be like 20 points cheaper overall. But after last week, DJ dropped his Locust Destroyers in there and took a shot at these guys, and they just held up so well. So I'm going to use them. So Company Heroes is 4 models. These guys are toughness 4 Space Marines, but they have 4 wounds apiece. And their special rule is that when they are joined by a character, they are -1 to wound, which is super useful for just keeping that captain alive. There's an agent in there that gives them extra OC. There's one guy with just a regular bolt rifle. There's a guy with a master-crafted heavy bolter. Maybe that'll get to pop off this turn. And there's a company champion. This just means with the captain and the company champion together, this squad has 12 strength 5, AP 2, 2 damage, master-crafted power sword attacks. And the captain, of course, can pop off once per game and get an extra 3 attacks. So late in the game, when it comes to it, they can wreck something that's maybe not at full strength or pick up, 5 or 6 models. They definitely have some combat potential there, but really they're just there to keep the captain alive. They're going to hold my home field objective and and look good doing it. So next, Eradicators. We have 3 squads of Eradicators. We have 1 6-man squad of Eradicators, and they're going to be joined by the Apothecary with the Beacon Angelus. So they will be deep striking, and they can rapid ingress for free. And then there are 2 3-man Eradicator squads. Now, Eradicators, as you know, reroll all hits, wounds, and damage into vehicles or monsters. The reason I have them in this list is because I kind of built this list to deal with elite infantry in transports, Sword Brethren, Black Templar Sword Brethren, and Land Raiders or Impulsors, or Chosen, Chaos Space Marine Chosen and Rhinos, or Plague Marines and Death Guard Rhinos. I want to be able to pop them with Eradicators, but then use the Oath of Moments on the guys inside to wreck those with the Dev Wounds. So that's why we have the Eradicators in this list. Again, DJ's army I'm playing against today doesn't really have the transport situation, so it's not really useful for that. But again, they're still great for going into any kind of vehicle or monster. So hopefully they get to put in some work today. The 2 3-mans will be riding around in the Repulsor Executioners. I found one of the challenges with Eradicators is that they're short range of only 18 inches. A lot of times it's tough to get them on target because they only have a 5-inch move. So I'll have 1 big squad deep strike, and the 2 little squads will be riding around in the Repulsor Executors. So they can pop out and do work when it's time to. Next, we have 3 5-man squads of DeathWatch Terminators. These aren't just regular Terminators, they're DeathWatch Terminators. That's why they can take 3 heavy weapons in a 5-man unit. Now, this is the only thing in the list today that is not WYSIWYG. These are all being played as 3 assault cannons and 2 Terminators with Thunderhammer and Storm Shield in each unit. I don't have that many assault cannons yet. What sane person would have 9 Terminators with assault cannons? I only have 12 of the Cyclone missile launchers. So we're going to be using some Cyclone missile launchers to proxy as assault cannons today. But anytime you see a Cyclone, it's an assault cannon for today. But the DeathWatch Terminators, other than the ability to take lots of heavy weapons in a 5-man, their special rules when they complete a charge, any units with engagement range have to take a battle shock test. Like I said, they're going to be deep striking today, so they can get eyes on targets and really pop off with those death wounds. Next, we've got 2 of the Invader ATVs with the Gatling cannons. Again, another weapon with dev wounds. I kind of like using one of these last week. We'll see how 2 does today. They have a 12-inch move. They're 70 points, toughness 5, 8 wounds. Just a little buggy that's got an assault cannon on it. And they can move. They can get eyes on targets when we pop off the Tome of Ectoclades. But they can also shoot out there and do an action or get on an objective with their 12-inch move. They have the ability to do that. Their special rule is shooting back whenever you shoot at a mounted unit near it. So it's not going to be really useful in this game unless one shoots at another or something. They shoot at one of the other ones. But yeah, just extra Gatling cannon shots and just that little bit of gameplay in there. And then we've got 2 of the Repulsor Executioners. These things are big. They're chunky. They are toughness 12, 16 wounds, 3-up armor. But they do have a big 2-shot laser. I forget what it's called, the laser heavy extra Doom Destroyer. But it's 2 shots. It's strength 16. Yeah, strength 16, AP 4, D6 plus 4 damage. And the special rule for this is anytime it targets something that is below half strength, they get +1 to hit. There's a ton of extra little shots on here. There's a twin-linked heavy bolter, a twin stubber, another regular stubber. These also each have a heavy onslaught Gatling cannon, so they're putting out more dev wound shots as well. Some extra little bolter shots in there, and they do have a transport capacity of 6. Now, finally, last but certainly not least, Making a triumphant return to the Warhammer 40K table after a 20-year absence, we have a 4-man squad of Inquisitorial Henchmen. So I had 40 points left over in this list, and there's not really anything you can do, not anything you can take, except Inquisitorial Henchman for 40 points. So it's 4 guys. Their special rule is that if they're led by an Inquisitor, they're -1 to wound. They are not, so they are just regular to be wounded. Special gear, one of them has an Eviscerator, like an extra choppy chainsword. One of them has a plasma pistol, then the other had just basically plasma pistol, or basic las pistol, a close combat weapon. Nothing really cool to speak of, but they're 40 points. They'll go into reserve. Maybe they'll score me investigate signals somewhere or behind enemy lines or engage in all fronts or something like that. That's all I can hope from. They're 40 points. If they score me 2 points in the game, 40 points is 2% of my 2,000 point list. 2 points would be 2% of 100 points. So I'm here for it. If they can just get their points value in terms of points on the board, victory points, I'll be happy. But I'm glad to have these old metal models back on the table. Painted these up several editions ago, maybe for 7th edition, maybe 6th edition, I don't remember. And these models are probably older than a lot of the people that are watching this battle report, because these are probably mid-90s to late 90s when they came out. So that is the list. All right, guys, that is the list. Now, as I talked about last week, the whole plan is to have one glorious turn where I do a whole bunch of dev wounds. I have 95 or 96 dev wound shots in this army. Hopefully in turn 2, I can pick 2 targets to put Tome of Ectoclades on. When I put Tome of Ectoclades, remember I reroll all hits and all wounds, and I will pop off my sustained hits, because as DeathWatch, I can take 1 turn of lethal hits, 1 turn of sustained hits, and then 1 turn of 6 hit or precision. So if I pop off the Tome and pop off that sustained, I should get somewhere in the neighborhood of 34, 35 dev wounds based on the number of shots I have. We'll see how that shakes out. The last game we played with a similar type of list, didn't get to pop off that many dev wounds. Still, again, I was satisfied with the output, but I probably had 35 or 36 dev wounds in the entire game. I'm trying to do that many in 1 turn. So that's the goal today. Win or lose, a whole bunch of dev wounds in 1 glorious turn. Also, for the Inquisitorial Henchmen to survive 2 turns. That's the big plan. Maybe they'll survive 2 turns on the table. But other than that, Eradicators riding in the repulsors so they can jump out and be on target to pop things within range and have line of sight. You got Eradicators that are deep striking. Shout out in the game. Remind me to use rapid ingress with them, because it's free with them. And of course, the Terminators, they have that rapid ingress ability too. Maybe I'll try and make sure I make use of that as well. It could get me closer to objectives and that sort of thing. So follow us over to the battle report. Let's see how these guys do this week, and we'll see you there.